Hey guys, it is me, Jacqueline. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome this is your first time here. For today's video, I am super excited to be doing another one of my new adult recommendations video. The last time I have done one of these was in 2017, so it has been a long time coming. I love doing recommendation videos. They're some of my favorite videos to post, not only because I love to recommend the books to you guys, but I also love to read and see your guys' recommendations in the comments down below. So definitely share some of your favorites, as well as other requests for different subjects or genres you guys would like me to do recommendation videos on. Before we get into this video very quickly, I do have to say this next month is going to be hard for me to post consistently just because I am going to be having to pre-record some videos. If you don't know, I actually broke my camera lights, so I got delayed in filming this video, and then I also have to film some footage that was corrupted. So for my Harry Potter videos, I think the reviews are going to be every other week, and then I'm going to try to at least post 2 videos, if not at least 1 video a week for the month of February. I'm going to be at school not only dealing with starting a new semester, but I'm also in a sorority and we are going to be doing recruitment practice, and recruitment on weekends. So I won't be able to come back at my house and film, and I hope you guys understand that. So the first book I have to recommend, I feel like if you have already started or actually read the new adult genre, you probably have heard or read this book before, but I wanted to reiterate and re-recommend this book in case if you watching are just jumping into this genre and haven't actually heard of this book before, because this is a oldie but a goodie, and that is Easy, and this is from Tamara Weber. Not only do I share the same first name as this main character, but I also share a similar incident that happened to me my freshman year of college, and I felt like reading it after that math and really understanding it and seeing the message this book portrays, as well as seeing our main character's growth, the people behind her, the support that ends up happening, and just all different aspects of it, I really did appreciate, and I love the fact this message was being portrayed in a new adult book, and I know this is one of the more popular ones out there. Also, specifically when dealing with the romance factor, I love the romance. I love how it's built on a level of respect and understanding for one another, as well as more of an emotional level. While we do get sort of indications that there is a home run factor, I'm talking about sex, we don't get the details of it. We mostly get details up to like second base, and the only reason I'm saying it is because this romance doesn't really weigh heavily on the sex. It's more featured on the actual connection between our two characters and the growth with our main character specifically, and how she comes to herself. This book starts off with her as a breakup, and I love how we get to see everything that comes with it, and her friends and even acquaintances that end up coming out and supporting. So this is one of those oldie but goodie books that I would highly recommend if you haven't read already. It will personally always be one of my favorites, and yeah, I'm so happy I ended up rereading it. I was honestly debating on doing a separate book review video on it, and then thought, maybe people wouldn't want that, but if you want, I could definitely do an entire discussion because I actually had so much to say about this book just besides that. The next 2 books I have are from the same duology, and that is the Clipped Wings duology from Helena Hunting. The first time I read these 2 books was back in 2014, and yet again I just recently reread it and fell in love, and I felt like I actually yet again appreciated a lot more now that I'm older. I feel like this is such a underrated duology, and it does feature a duo POV. We follow each main character as they both deal with their own different haunting and daunting past. They end up meeting because the one is a tattoo artist and the one is desiring to get a tattoo. This is a little bit of a slower start, but I feel like it does really build and help to bring in the overall tension that ends up happening. This does feature a little bit of insta lust, not insta love, but yet again with the drama as well as the past that each of these characters have to deal with and their overall separate and together journeys. It flushes it out, and it doesn't over accentuate anything and make it super dramatic. It just felt very balanced and realistic, and I overall really did enjoy reading the story itself and seeing these characters just grow. The next book I don't have in physical copy, but this is called Sex Not Love, and this is from the Keyland. I read this book and I actually just ended up yet again rereading this book, and I loved it, and I definitely have to recommend it. this is another one of those insta-lust situations, but I also love it because we get to see so much more of these individual characters. It is a dual POV, but we follow our one main female character in the present and our one male character in the past, and how his own past actually inflicts the present and their overall future. This ends up being more of a slow burn. There is a lot of tension that ends up going on between these two main characters. Yet again, we do get a more detailed aspect of a home run, but I overall loved it because I loved these characters and seeing how these characters growed together. They are so completely opposite of one another, and they do actually reflect on that, but together they have a lot of banter and quirkiness that ends up happening, and it was fun to read. I also loved our main female character so much. She was such a pleasure to be able to read and see her interactions with her stepdaughter, seeing her interactions within herself and her specific job with her clients. I felt like this got me to really see these two characters and learn more about them as well as their journeys and coming together. So this was a great one to read, and I would definitely recommend it. Next, I have two from the same author, but I will be talking about them individually. So the first one we have is Culty, and this is from the slow burning queen, Marina Zapata. In this book, we follow more of a athletic vibe. Yet again, the last time around I did one of these, I recommended The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, which I still recommend. Marina Zapata's books are A+. Like, her writing is spectacular, her characters are wonderful, and like I said, she is the queen of a slow burning romance, and this definitely is one of my favorites from her. The Wall of Winnipeg and Me and this one are very, very close together. Now, one of my least favorite book tropes is the student-teacher sort of trope. I can't stand those personally, especially when it's like featured in high school. It kind of gives me a weird vibe, but this one slightly has that trope, but a little bit more different to one that I actually did respect. So in this book, we follow our main character, who is a professional soccer player. She's on a team, so she is much older, and the love interest himself is a coach, and she actually respected and looked up to him when she was little, and it ends up being a little tit for tat. We do get a little bit of like a hate-love romance here. It's a slow build, and I did really just appreciate not only learning these characters individually, but seeing them interact together. Marina Zapata just does romances so well. I love how she builds not only the story itself, but also her characters, and make them so well-rounded that you can't help but want to root for these characters and getting them together. So the next one I have, yet again from Marina Zapata, is Under Lock. So this one is probably my least favorite I have read from her, but I still wanted to recommend it because I just flew by this book. I did really enjoy certain aspects of it. I didn't love the overall story, but I feel like a lot of people actually would love this book. With the development of the main characters as well as the overall building romance, this one is definitely that hate to like to love romance. It's definitely a slower build. Why I didn't love this book is because the ending was a little bit too slow for me. I felt like we could kind of cut off some certain aspects and add a few more building scenes. Besides that, I really did enjoy seeing these characters come together and seeing their growth and build. It was just one of those stories that reminded me a ton of one of my favorite books by Katie McGarry, but I felt like this was the more risque version. And yet again, Marina Zapata just does characters so well, romance so well. So if you're interested in a more heavier one, I do feel like this does have heavier topics in it. I'm going to say this is definitely for you. The main protagonist, the love interest, I didn't really love at first. I actually thought he was such a douche, but that kind of made it a little bit more interesting when it came to the overall romance, and it did come full circle with his character arc. So this was one I would still recommend. I didn't love it, but Marina Zapata as a whole is one of my favorites in the new adult genre. The next two books I have are also from the same author, and this is actually a companion series, but yet again, I'm going to be talking about the books individually. So the first book I have is To Love, Jason Thorne, and this is from Ella Mays. And I actually discovered this book from one of you guys, and I read it and I quickly fell in love with it. In this book, we follow our main character, who is a writer, and she wrote a best-selling romance novel that is actually being turned into a movie, and what ends up coming to is it was based on her childhood crush, Jason Thorne, who is actually going to be playing himself technically in the upcoming movie. So it's them dealing with the present as well as reflecting on the past and how they will move forward into a budding romance. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. The moments between these characters, some of them made me laugh out loud. I love the overall tension and the building on the friendship and the almost understanding they come to when it reflects on their past and then moving forward to their future. It was a really, really cute, fluffy romance, but also it did sort of go home run, and it definitely had the details in there, but I thought it was really well placed and definitely fitted with the overall tone of the story. The next one we have yet again is the companion novel, and that is To Hate Adam Connor. So how these two stories are intertwined is the main female character in this book is the main character in the other book's best friend. So we do actually see those two characters being brought back up into this one, but we also really get to focus on the best friend, and she was also featured in the first book as well. So the best friend in this book, she has a lot of spunk to her. She's been hurt before. She almost feels like she is cursed, and in this book we also follow another actor, and he's actually been recently divorced. He has a child, and instead of this being similar to Love, Jason Thorne was more of a rekindling of a old flame. This one reflects a lot of the love to hate romances, or hate to love romances. I almost just got it wrong. I love those books, if you can't tell. But this was super fun as well. I loved getting to also see the old characters. I did love the first one a little bit more than the second, but I found the overall stories itself were just so much fun. They also had very impactful parts as well. Very realistic what these characters go through and the actual emotions they end up portraying, their thoughts itself. Like, I just love seeing both of the characters' mindsets because both of these novels are duo POV. I read them back to back and I loved reading them back to back. Yet again, I love series and I love really getting to dive in with these characters, feel for these characters, and this is a great companion series. And then the last book I have to recommend is one that I just recently read, and I loved this book so much, and that is Bright Side, and this is from Kim Holden. I feel like this is such a underrated one personally. I don't know how popular it is on Goodreads. I haven't actually even put my Goodreads review on it yet. I just finished reading this, but it was so beautiful. There are moments that had me really just feeling wholeheartedly for these characters. I love the connection itself, and this is a slower build into the story. Each of these main characters have their own separate past and getting over that. I feel like I have an overarching theme when it comes to these recommendations, but this one specifically made me sob like a baby. I just love these characters so much, and the passion they had, the connection they had, how real and rounded they were. This is such a beautiful gem in my opinion, and I don't really hear anyone talking about it. We do follow our main character as she goes to a new school and a new college, and how she sort of ends up falling for this boy and fighting that falling, and I don't know, it's just so good. I don't want to say anything because I felt like this was one of those stories that I jumped in blinded, and I love that about it because I really just got swept away with the story. This author has such a beautiful writing technique. This is definitely one I would recommend if you haven't read it already. So those are all the new adult reads I had to recommend this time around. I am so happy I finally got around to doing this video. Let me know what you thought of all the books I recommend if you have read them or if you are excited to pick them up. And of course, let me know what your favorite new adult reads are. I love reading your guys' recommendations. You guys have the best recommendations, as well as letting me know if you would like to see any other subject or genre for recommendations coming from me. And I will see you guys in my next video.